Howdy people, Zabra bringing you another video, and this time it's personal, as in personal carry. I carry it on my person. That's about as personal as it gets. Anywho, obviously what you see before you is a Caly 3 by Spyderco. Now, what do we know about the Caly 3? It has some very, very gorgeous carbon fiber handles or scales. It's tip down, just tip up. Deep carry pocket clip. Has the back lock with the David Boy detent. Has some steel liners which are skeletonized. It's riveted rather than Torx or any other screw construction, apart from the Torx, sorry, not Torx, hex screw. So you can swap this pocket clip around for left and right tip up carry should you need to do so, and it is adjustable here as well, which is also hex. Now we get to the very, very interesting part, and it's also the part I want to concentrate on, because this is not a review of the Caly 3 knife per se. It's all about the blade. And if you have a Caly 3, or you own the Caly 3 and you use it, obviously you know the blade is it's not a blade of just one steel. There are two steels involved here. Let me bring this down a little bit closer for you. I'll go the right way. There we go. Just working through my tripod. Now, those of you who own this knife, obviously you know it comes from Japan, and you'll also know that it is made of two. It is a. What is I'm going to say? It is a. The name eludes me. Not a Sanmai. It's not the name I'm looking for. And the name I'm looking for is laminate. Laminate steel. Laminate blade. That's what I wanted to say. I think it's interesting because. Actually, let me get another knife. I want to show you something else without jarring all my equipment. Is that still in? Yeah, it's still in. Still in frame. Now, where is it? What I want to show for you is this thing. And this is also from Japan, out of their Seki-city factory. This is also a laminate steel, VG10 core. Like I said, made out of Seki-city, Japan. And now, the reason why I've got this out is because the Japanese have many years of sword making experience. History is an understatement. We're talking centuries, so you're talking hundreds of years of sword making prowess. They had a very hard cutting core, sandwiched in between a softer steel, so that the harder steel was protected by the two outer steels that sandwiched it, and they've employed that same idea in this knife, which is the Makasta katana, which you don't see a lot of now, especially this variation. so that is another example of what you see here. I'll just put this out of shot. Now this one is, as I said, it's kind of the same idea, also from Japan, but this steel is this blade is different. The mix is different, and I want to talk about why I think what the benefits are really. Now, if you look closely, actually, I didn't really show you on here. You can see the two. You can see the two cores. Hopefully, this will pick it up. I'm not sure if it will or not. If I cancel out the background, it'll hopefully pick up. I don't know if you can see, but on the blade spine you can just make out the 3 layers. So the outer layers are lighter, I believe, and in the center you've got the darker metal, the harder metal. It's not so easy to pick up on this. You might be able to see it that way, I'm not sure. Let's try the Caly 3. Sometimes these, you can see things with the naked eye, but on these HD cameras, when you get up close and personal, you don't see too much. But let's see if we can see something on this. Cancelling out the background, still in macro mode. I don't know if you can see. Let's get a bit closer. Will you? If I can get it focused on that. This is Sal Glissa's logo, and then twisted. Maybe you can see something. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe you might be able to pick that up. I'm not sure, but on the outer 2 layers, you've got the 420 J2 steel, which is the softer but tougher steel, more durable, and it's also extremely rust resistant. It's supposed to be. And then in the center you've got the duller ZDP-189, which is the core, the inner core, which is the cutting edge. Sorry, on the spine you don't see it very well. Well, you actually do see it more. Yeah, you can probably see it clear. See it a little bit more clearly now. And it runs all the way down to the tip. Wants to focus on my towel, but you can see it a lot more clearly here. See, on here, focus, you've got the 420 J2, and then the bottom portion here is the ZDP-189, which is the cutting edge. And if you run your finger over the where the 420 J2 ends, you can feel the steel change, and it's the same on this side. Now that we've got that out the way, let's talk about the benefits of that. Now, some people have been saying, well, the reason why they did that, they chose to make this kind of blade, is to withstand lateral forces, and that, in basic terms, means forces being applied perpendicular to the knife. So, in a practical application, if you were to pry with this and start prying with it, I guess you could call that lateral forces. And people have been saying the 420, because the ZDP-189 is brittle. I say brittle, but it's been engineered so it's not that brittle really. But when you compare it to something like 420 J2, it is brittle when you compare it to something like that, because 420 J2, the properties of 420 J2 is that you can, it has a degree of flexibility and is quite pliable. So with that kind of metal, you can do a lot of silly nonsense with it, and it's not gonna fracture or break. Whereas ZDP-189, if you try doing applying the same kind of force, it's not very forgiving, and it is going to fracture, and it is going to break if you start being silly with it. So the reason why it's that way, it's been engineered that way, because they wanted to make it hard. It has a Rockwell of like 64.5 to 65, which is very, very hard. But they wanted a steel that was a performance steel, and that's what it is. It's an exotic performance steel, and it's regarded as an exotic steel or performance steel for this reason. The reason why they call it that is because if you wanted to, you could alter the geometry on the blade edge if you wanted to. Let's say you wanted, and when I say reduce the geometry, you're looking at we're just looking at the edge bevel here. So if you wanted to reduce the angle from what it is to something less than that, and in layman's terms that means making the edge thinner, and if you make it thinner, it makes it easier to cut through stuff in basic terminology. So that's what I mean by changing the blade geometry and reducing the angle. On other types of steel, if you try to do that, well, you can do that, but you're going to run into problems because of the nature of that steel. The integrity of the edge is not going to hold up very well. As soon as you try to cut anything with it, the edge is going to fail. Whereas something like ZDP-189 with its high Rockwell, you can reduce the angle, make the edge very, very thin, and you can go about daily tasks, cutting things, boxes, rope, fruit, paper, cardboard, stuff like that, and even some hardish type stuff, and with a very thin profiled edge, the edge is going to hold up because it's a performance steel, because it's been designed for that, and that's the whole point of ZDP-189, in my opinion, anyway. So the reasons why I think they've added 420J2, which again is very corrosion resistant or rust resistant compared to ZDP-189, which isn't. You can see right away why they decided to sandwich that steel with the wear resistant steel, and it has a degree of toughness to it as well. So it's two things really. Anyway, so just to give you just a diagram of what that steel will look like on a cross section. Here's something I prepared earlier. Excuse my crude design, a crude diagram. So as you can see in the center, you've got your very, very hard performance steel, which is the ZDP-189, and sandwiching that, you have the much softer, I think a Rockwell of like say 54 or 55, sandwiched by that steel, which is a lot more durable and wear resistant. So it's a protective. It's like a sleeve. It's putting it in a sandwich, so you protect. So the bulk of the ZDP 189 is protected, and then you've got the cutting edge which is exposed here. And here's some other like diagrams that I that I drew up. So But anyway, you get the idea. I can see why they decided to laminate it, because if you know you don't want to get raw ZDP 189 wet and moist. You're cutting fruit, or you're doing things where the blade's going to get wet, and then you maybe just give it a wipe, or maybe not do anything. You just give it a flick off the water and moisture and juices and all that gunk, and then you just decide to put it away one day. Your ZDP 189 is put away like this, and then you come back and, oh, there's rust all over my blade. Oh crap, not good. And it's the same with M4. M4 and ZDP 189 are kind of rust magnets, so you need to. They're steels that need care. They're performance steels, like anything performance. You improve it by extracting as much performance out of it. In the case of obviously in case of cars, we want more speed, power, blah blah blah. In the case of knives, it's cutting power, but you're going to sacrifice something, for that cutting power. And wear resistance, you're gonna lose out in something else. So in this case, it's corrosion resistance. So, but not that being said, there are knives out there, with just in ZDP 189, no protective metal or anything like that, and that's fine. But you just have to make sure that you give it some TLC, give it some tender loving care, give it some oil after each use, and make sure the blade is stropped and it's good to go the next time you pick it up. The other thing to note is, if you and this has been mentioned many times on videos with ZDP 189, being this is an EDC type knife, it's an everyday carry. It's very light. It's a kind of blade design that you can kind of like deploy this in and use it in everyday tasks. But the trouble with the ZDP 189 is that it is going to be an excellent cutter, but you will need to also take care of the blade edge in the way of stropping and sharpening at some point, because a lot of people recommend, if this is going to be used frequently, it could do with a strop after each use, because you do not want a ZDP 189's edge to get dull, because it's going to be a pain in the backside for you to get this razor sharp again, because it's so hard. Maybe pain in the ass is too strong, but it's going to require a lot more time and effort to put to restore the edge back to how it was, to make it razor sharp again, because obviously the nature of ZDP 189 is very hard. It's just going to take longer to sharpen. So after each use, I'd recommend stropping it, and that's really about it. It's an excellent little knife. It's very, very dressy, and I would highly recommend it. If you're thinking about buying it, then I would say definitely get it, because it's an extremely neat, posh little knife, and it's just one I wanted to add to my collection, and now I have one. It's the first ZDP 189 knife I have, and it just looks very, very cool. But anyway, just wanted to explain and clear up any confusion regarding the knife steel, and on why they decided to go for a laminate blade instead of just a single steel. Okay, questions and queries, you know where to put them. Cheers, bye.